Hello everyone. I hope everybody is doing okay and staying safe because of the coronavirus pandemic. I wanted to give you an update about what I've been doing in Delirium, what my character looks like, what are my plans, and where I am right now, like how much progress I've done through the map. But first about the character, let me go over and just run a map for you guys to see, and then we'll talk about the character itself. This is a T14 desert map, and I'm gonna run the Delirium as well, just so you guys can see like how it actually does look.
Stupid dog, you are chasing your own tail.
We didn't get that good of a loot, to be honest with you, but hey. Last time we talked about it, I actually said that the survivability of the character lacks a little bit, but we'll talk about like all the nerfs that they did to Delirium mechanic itself and how it affected us. I never get a hang of this map. We are not going to be able to do the boss within the Delirium, but still we'll finish the boss and then we'll talk about the character. Oh yeah, and this was Beyond, by the way. Like, you didn't even feel it, but this was a Beyond map. Finish up a bunch of these things. Okay. So this was the cast on crit volatile death, right? And how it happened is that I'll tell you a story. I generally do like to min-max the bejesus out of a character, and I started with like a 6-link exquisite blade. The original one was, I believe, this one actually. So I got it to 6-link, and I was playing around with the cast on crit. I got a couple of good rolls with like critical strike chance, like local critical strike chance, and crit multi and attack speed and everything else. But I was looking through the POE DB, and I saw the melee movement skills have 39% chance to fortify on hit. And the original Delirium was really rippy, if you remember. And I was thinking, okay, because of that, maybe I should actually invest more into this and get a cast on crit with the chance to fortify, and give up on the spell hit, one of the crit not the local crit chance, but either the spell hit or the chance to the attack speed chance to deal double damage, which was the original plan for the weapon. Then I got a second one weapon and 6-link it, and I was auto spamming it. I spent around, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500 alterations to hit the 2 mods cast on crit, because I can actually show you here. Cast on crit is a prefix, and the melee movement skills is a suffix, so you can hit it with the alteration spamming. But after 1,500 alterations or something, I gave up. I was like, okay, maybe I should just buy one. So I have 3 different exquisite blade shaper weapons, and I'm trying to 6-link this one. After I 6-link this one, I'm gonna do can have multiple crafted mods, and hits cannot be evaded. That will give me some points. I'll show you on the tree. And just the local crit chance probably, because that would increase this local crit chance from 6% to whatever. If I get like 25-26%, that would be more than enough to scale it to have a consistent crit, which is what we're looking for. And the hits cannot be evaded is because currently we have to take the cast speed and these accuracy nodes. I was thinking about even going more because my cyclone hit chance is 96% and against evasive monsters 91%. So I want to have a consistent hit, then I can worry about critical strike chance. And my current links, before I actually finish that 6th link, right now I'm using Fortify, Combustion, Desecrate, Inspiration, Volatile Dead, and Cyclone, and Cast a Crit from the weapon itself. But the Fortify, I was originally using Fire Penetration, Awaken Fire Breath, which is gonna be what I'm gonna put on this one, because now I get 45 from the weapon itself. So basically this will give me a pseudo 8 link. One of the links is just for the survivability and having Fortify, so maybe not the damage type of thing, but still, like, that's more than enough. And after I get this weapon, I started with the weapon to basically figure out the rest of the gear, but I stopped at the weapon itself as well because of that. So this is my current, I don't know if I showed you guys this, I don't remember what changed, but this is the current gloves that I'm using, the current belt. I'm still using that series step because of the dodge. Eventually I'm gonna move away from that. Still using the same comms heart. I actually got another one and went for double corruption, but of course it vanished. My luck, right? I have a Kherson head, and I still don't even use the Herald of Ash. Interestingly enough, we have enough damage for tier 16's clear speed just like that. Like, currently the auras that I'm using is Precision with Anger for damage, and then I'm running Flesh and Stone just to make sure that everyone is blinded around me and I have more survivability. Generally this character is gonna die a lot. This is a mapper. This is by no means bosser or a tanky character. This was meant to map really fast, but before they changed the Delirium, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, the survivability did matter. You needed to survive the Delirium to actually go through everything and then kill as many monsters as you can and get as much rewards as you can. But right now the Delirium is a little bit easier, but nonetheless I still want to have a very balanced character. Basically this type of character is generally known for the damage output, a glass cannon if you want to say. But I wanted to make the tankiest version of the glass cannon, if that makes sense to you. So I'm willing to give up on a bunch of damage to get more survivability. And about the viability of the bossing of this character, so far this is by no means a finished character in my opinion. This is a very good playable character. As you saw, this was a tier 14. I've been running a bunch of tier 16 maps. I may as well just talk about my progress. I'm around Awakener level 6. I go section by section to finish up all the watchstones, and I still have one left on this one left on this one, 3 and 2. So these are the ones that I'm gonna go for next. But so far I've been able to kill bosses, but last time I wanted to do Cyrus Awakener level 6, I had issues. So especially because of it's not about the damage output or the survivability, because of the guy who stands above the Cyrus himself, I don't remember what it's called, and runs just random damages. We cannot, because we are not going to get 45. You're not hitting anybody when you're moving toward them to get 45, right? And you don't have that much survivability, life, and basically our physical damage reduction is non-existent, and our chaos resistance is really bad. I only have 9% chaos resistance, so I'm minus 51. So we're really susceptible to chaos damage, and we're really susceptible to physical damage. and those two are the two most damaging types that guy does basically. So I wouldn't run Cyruses with this character. I was actually thinking about, I may still change and like create a new bossing character, like a Jog. I don't know, I still haven't decided, but I was thinking about either a Jog or even like a Trapper or a Miner. They're both pretty good depending on, like a Fire Trap or Pyroclast Mine, I believe. They're both pretty good for single target, especially Pyroclast Mine. So you can do those for bossing, and this can be your mapping character, and it does a pretty good job. Even T16, you won't feel it. You have too much damage if you ask me. And this is a mid state of the character. I'll go over like the end state, and you're gonna have way more than enough damage to do whatever you want in this game. But so this is my progress, and let's go back to the actual character itself. So this is gonna be my weapon, as I said, with hits cannot be evaded and a local crit chance probably. This is the current gloves that I'm using. These are my end goal gloves. This is gonna be my end goal glove with life resistances, and you can do elemental damage with global crit chance on gloves, and this one has an open prefix, so this is gonna be my glove. I bought this one for the volatile that consumes up to 1 additional corpse. That's a 25% damage increase, more multiplier for us basically. So I have to still craft this one. I gave up on I don't remember if it was a redeemer. Yeah, I believe it was a redeemer helmets that could run minus 9% fire res. I gave up on that. 9% is not that much, especially because eventually we're going to use Awakened Fire Pen, so that gives us more than enough penetration with the tree and everything else that we are, and we already have exposure from our cast when damage taken wave of conviction. So we are gonna get to negative for bosses, so it will be a multiplier, but a 9% multiplier, and you have to spend out spamming and getting that, and then spending an Awakener's Orb to transfer it to a base with the volatile that consumes up to 1 additional corpse. Because the base, if you wanna buy a hunter with that, I believe there was one on the market for going for like 7-8 exalts, and I didn't want to give that much for like a helmet. Like I think that we can afford to lose 9%. I'm using a 5 link. Technically we cast and crit 6 link because 45 doesn't do anything for us. But I'm using basically a 5 damage links right now. Not even 5 if you can count volatile and desecrate. We only use 2 support gem, combustion and inspiration, and we still do more than enough damage. But that's where we are gonna go. So for the boots, I still have to auto spam these. This is good for now because I'm not using it. I'm using this one. It's a level 83. I wanted to go for 85 to get the 35% movement speed, but that was again too expensive, especially because I wanted the sorcerer boots. The reason that I'm going for a mixture of everything, because I do want to, like, energy shield is nice, given that because we are running acrobatics, because of acrobatics basically we have 30% less energy shield and 30% less armor, I believe. Yeah, 30% less chance to charge, 50 less armor and 30 less energy shield, right? And or we don't have any block chance either. But because of that, I decided to go. Evasion is not the greatest sort of damage medication because they eventually hit you, how the evasion works. So I wanted to have some evasion, but I wanted to have ES as well. Even if it's 30% less, or most of our stats are in intelligence anyways, and we get a bunch of like 66% minus 30, about 48% still more ES out of everything basically, and that's going to give us a little bit more of a buffer, maybe give us EHP to like 6k, and after the changes maybe even more, because these are not the end results. So this is the state for the gloves, helmet and boots. For the ring, I actually have another ring that I want to craft somewhere in here. Yeah, this one. Lightning is something that we need to take care of, basically, because as you see here we have fire and cold. Maybe this can balance it off, and how we craft these two depends basically on the rest of the gear. But I want to have the assassin marks again, but with a lot more resistances and maybe even life. That would be really nice. And I'm gonna remove this one and get the ring with Herald of Ash buff effect and everything else. I can fit Herald of Ash very easily if I drop my precision or flesh on a stone, but I don't see the need to right now. Eventually I will do that as soon as I get like one of these enlightens to level 3. I'll try to basically slip that in and see how we can do it. Currently this was the original amulet that I had for the fire damage leashed as life, but there's a new cluster jewel which has Doriani's lesson, 0.2% of elemental damage leashed as life. So this gave me the option to give up as basically I don't rely on this amulet anymore, and I'm gonna change this based on how much resistances I need after all of this. And the Stygian Vice, I'm gonna change this. Definitely doesn't have any life. I needed the strengths, and these two are giving me the strengths for the Com's Heart, but eventually I have to basically change this to strengths plus a lot of life, and we don't really use that elemental damage with attacks as well. But there used to be a way to just get elemental damage with fossils, but I don't remember if they removed it or not. They hit the fossils very hard this league. Like, I didn't feel it until I actually had to craft all these things with the bases. Like, before that you didn't have to have a specific base. For example, for this one you didn't have to have that specific base of a redeemer for having the -9% matters, and you still had to have the hunter. For what I'm going for here is, I don't know if I told you, tailwind. So I still have to have hunter no matter what, even in the last league. But for this one you could just buy any and just craft it with the scorched fossils, and it will give you -9% fire resistance to nearby enemies. But yeah, basically that's the state, and I don't mind it actually. So let's go over, I went over the gear. Eventually, after everything changes, I will give you an end result of the perfect. I'm not gonna go to perfect. I want to always get to 90-95% of perfect, but I'm never gonna move toward the perfect, because if you want to get a perfect character like this one, it's gonna cost you over 5 to 10 mirror. Like, that's my estimation right now, because double corrupt, 6% life, 49% increased damage, 40% fire damage is the perfect for this one, right? And then for this one you can have life. I actually have something that's very similar to what we need. Where is that individual? Oh yeah. So for example, this one. This will give us 108 life, 43% lightning res. We still have one suffix for another res, right? So you can have 43 lightning res, some cold resistant as an example, plus 3 level to our auras, because it has by default the 2 level to Sacred Aura Gem. This is from Temple. And then on this one, if you can get a volatile, that would be amazing. That would be probably even better than the -9% fire res, right? And something like this, or the fire res with the volatile, that would be nice. Oh yeah, this was something that I was playing with, but I decided not to. It's too expensive to craft. Part of the fun for me in this game is crafting, to be honest with you. I play around more than I try to make money, so that's why you see I play with a bunch of things at the same time. And I love the theory crafting. I love to go through POB and get to see what would a perfect character look like and try to get as close to it as I can. That's why I spend so much time in this and so much money on this character. But yeah, basically these are gonna be our end gear, plus that unique with Herald of Ash buff effect and fire damage while affected by Herald of Ash. And this is a tree, how it looks like. You should drop this. I'm just picking it up because I still haven't finished up what I need to. These are going to be dropped as soon as I get the hits cannot be evaded. This can be dropped depending on your attack speed. I still don't know where my attack speed is going to land, but I'm not planning on doing the cooldown recovery speed. If you have 14% cooldown recovery speed, you can go to basically get 7 cast of the vault, 7 cast, whether it be volatile, dead, or desecrate. And because of that, then you need to hit about 7.5 attack speed. But because we are not going for that, by default you can hit only 6 per second. So you need to hit about 6.5 attack per second to be able to, so the cooldown is off every time that you're hitting. This is about single target. If you have a bunch of enemies close by, each one of them get attacked, the cooldown doesn't really matter. But for single target, when you're hitting that one single target, you need to have 6.5 attacks to be able to crit every time. If you crit every time, the volatile that is already off cooldown, so you can actually basically trigger it, right? But what I was talking about the, I still haven't finished, I still have 2 passive skill points that I'm not allocating right now, is about the cluster drill. So I already got this one. This is not by no means perfect. I wanted the Doriani's lesson, and I wanted to have some other things on it, and these are the, this was one of the cheaper ones. The perfect one would be this Doriani's lesson plus the notable that gives fire exposure, plus the notable that gives you, it was another good one. Actually, probably anything else. Those 2 are the most important ones. And fire exposure, or 25% chance with the fire skills to exposure. Because we hit so many times and we will have so many balls that the probability of within a second or 2 the boss is going to have fire exposure is good enough, I feel like. But nearby enemies have fire exposure is just as great, because then even during the mapping everybody is going to have minus 25% fire risk, which is very nice. But currently my exposure comes from the Wave of Conviction, which if you have one of those you can drop and put another link in there. We are kind of linked to Star of the Living, but I wouldn't mind smoking. There is actually, I remember the third one. The third one is the one that the enemies ignited or destroyed. That would be the perfect large cluster jewel, plus the 2, what do you call it, 2 jewel sockets, right? That would be the perfect cluster jewel for us. But I believe there was one on the market, 6 Exalt again, and again that was too expensive. This is good enough. I'm getting everything else that I need. I get the fire exposure from Wave of Conviction when it matters, which is in the boss, and I'm not getting the ignited enemies are destroyed, which makes you not have to worry about all the undeath effects, which is really nice. That's something that you should look forward to. But I'm still working around without it to see if I really need it at the end. But then for these 2 jewels, this one is kind of perfect. I actually decided, like, this I'm not going to change. This is the perfect jewel with precise commander and precise retaliation. It gives us a lot of crit chance and some crit multi. My small is good. It's Feast of Flesh. There's one other one that gives 10% maximum life, but I really do enjoy the 10 life gain for each enemy hit, because we hit so many times with Cyclone itself, and then we have all the volatile balls and the actual detonation itself. So this actually is pretty good. I'm probably not going to change this. On this side, you can have 1 more medium and 1 more small. So for the medium, I'm going for this one, the Channel skill. There is 2 passives that I really want. I still have to alt spam it again. For this one, there's 2 passive skills that I really enjoy. There's one that you're not affected by curses, which means I can drop this flask and go for a unique one, probably the Wise Oak. That's like the general plan. There was another one that I don't remember which one was it, but there's another one that's really good. I don't remember. You can take a look, but there's another notable I'll put the POB not in this video, but after the next video, after I decided what the perfect plan looks like. I'll put a perfect POB and you can see it in that POB. But currently, this is what I'm working toward, basically, for the medium bar. And then for the small one, there's one around here, not the fire damage. I have a bunch of jewels that I'm playing around, basically, and trying to craft. For the small one, there's the base one for the 15% increase armor can give you notable that if you've been hit recently, you get 1 endurance charge. That's a very good notable. So by default, you have 3 endurance charges, and you get hit eventually, right? And that means that you'll get 3 endurance charges, which means 12% reduced physical damage taken. For us, that's what I care about, not the. And it helps if. Not really, actually. Now that I think about it, because we are going to be curse immune if we get that medium cluster jewel. Even if not, you don't have to worry about the element of weakness. But that's how the tree eventually is going to look like. And yeah, that's how the character is going to look like eventually. It's still a work in progress. I'm still, as I said, as you see, actually, I have 3 different exquisite ways that I'm playing with, basically, and I have a whole bunch of other things that I'm spending time crafting and enjoying myself. So after the character, after I talked about the progress, let's talk about Delirium itself and what the changes mean for the Delirium patch, and after that the patches that they made afterward, like the small patches. I believe that we are on C 3.10C something. But so the nerfs to the fossils that I was talking about, I actually do enjoy it. I feel like the end result for a character should be really hard to craft. Like back in the day, I could just easily spend 1 exalt, less than 1 exalt, to get the best helmet in place, or something very, very close, like 99%. Yes, probably wouldn't get the +2 aura level and go do it somewhere. Like, it was really hard to get the perfect, but it was very easy to get the close to perfect one, right, with the fossil crafting. But now a combination of the fossil, because the fossils don't give any unique mods anymore, right? They dropped a bunch of I would say overpowered mods. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the mods while it lasted, but I feel like the game should give you a challenge. You should spend, like, I don't know, 50 exalts on a character to feel comfortable just passing around on a T16 with 8 mods, like 100% 8 modded T16. You really should spend at least like 50 exalt, 100 exalt, something to get to that point. And I feel like that change was in the right direction, that they removed some of our power mods, I know, but they didn't remove the core of what fossils should be like, but they just moved it to the base of some hard bases, like the Guardian bases. So the probability and accessibility of it is so lower at least, that it's a chase item now. You can chase something, like how I'm chasing this. So the perfect exquisite blade is out there somewhere, right? So you have a prefix, not even the perfect one, close to something that you will eventually have to multi-mod, like a perfect 3 mod exquisite bullets, eggs somewhere there, right? With melee movement skill, have chance to fortify, socket gems are supported by cast on grade level 20, and then another prefix that's, I don't know what are the prefixes, but probably some other good prefix, like +1 to level of socket gem wouldn't hurt, right? You have a 20, if you buy a 21 volatile dead, which is something I should do definitely, but you get a level 22 volatile dead. That's something that you can get, right? There are all those things that you need to chase after, and this is what I play when I'm not working. This is my off time, this is my enjoyment time. So I try to enjoy it as much as I can, and how I enjoy this game is actually going for something very good, going chasing after some items, right? And chase items have been kind of trivialized by the money making things that you can do these days. Like, what's the chase item left in this game right now? It's probably like a headhunter or like a mirror tier piece of armor, right? But as long as it's harder, it's more of a if you can I have a guildmate who made a mirror in 2 days, staying at the hideout and just flipping. Nothing against him. He's a very smart guy and he enjoys this game and he enjoys the finances of this game, I would say. Like, he does very interesting things to make money, and kudos to him. But I feel like still for other players who make money like him, 3 days a mirror, it would take, how many slots do you have? Like 10 slots. It would take what, 30 days, like a month, to get a mirror tier item for everything. But now that even the mirror tier items are harder to craft, it's going to take more time. It's going to be probably less accessible to everybody with the specific base that they want, with the specific things that they want. So I do enjoy that change now that I think about it, like after a week into the league. We're somewhat like 9 days into the league, right? The second part is the changes that they made after they released Delirium. Like, they cut the boss's HP by 50%, and they made it easier, the general mobs, and they added the time for doing interacting with other content. So there's pros and cons. For most of the player base, I feel like they weren't enjoying, they weren't getting to the, like, I don't know, 5th level, 4th level Delirium, right? Like, they weren't getting the 4th tier of rewards. But some players were. And I feel like they should have nerfed something. There was some things that, in this game, this is a ARPG, you need to be able to react to anything, and you need to be able to outplay the game. The game shouldn't make you die. The game should be so hard that tells you, hey, if you would have done this, you could have survived, but you didn't, right? In my opinion, at least. Not that it matters. A lot of times you have 100 mobs and you cannot react to each one of them, but there should be a way to react to each one of them. And some of the Delirium mobs, there were no way to react to it. It was just, the fog was interacting with the color scheme of every other mob very badly. You couldn't see anything. So Delirium was really hard and was unfair in my opinion, but they nerfed it to the ground. I wouldn't have mind, because as you saw, I was going for a more tanky build just because of the Delirium. I was like, oh, this is hard. I still want to go really fast, but I still want to survive and go through the Delirium. That's what I needed. After the nerfs, you saw I still haven't dropped 45, but I can just run easily without needing. I don't need the damage, and I don't need the survivability to stay in the tier 16 map. I'm gonna still go for it and get a lot tankier and a lot more damage, because that's what I enjoy in the game, but I'm not gonna be able to use it. But I was thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna be able to use all the things that I'm doing for survivability and damage in this Delirium, because the bosses have so much damage and you need to survive a long time. I feel like if they would have just fixed a couple of things like the on-death effects and maybe give more clarity to all the animations that the monsters were doing, that would have been more than enough. I feel like they over-nerfed it. But then again, at the same time, I believe, based on what I read on Reddit and all the forums, or I don't know if that would say most of the players, because not every player, not every type of players goes on Reddit or forums and says how they're experiencing the game, right? But based on those, if I were to believe them, most of the players weren't enjoying it and weren't getting that much loot, basically. This is a looting game, right? You want to get loot, you want to get stronger, you want to get to the next level and kill even more mobs. but they weren't enjoying it as much. So I understand how that would affect the player base and why they wanted to do it. I get it, but at the same time, I feel like they overdid it just by a tiny margin. Yeah, that was Delirium, and that was the character. Hopefully, maybe another week or two. I don't know if I'm gonna play another character for bossing, because I still feel like that would be just a lot easier to go with like a Molten Strike, Jog, and just face tank Cyrus. Awakener 8. I still haven't got it to that point to see how bad it is. But because I still I enjoy every aspect of the game. I wanna have a character to map it. This is a joy to play this character for map. But for bossing, I feel like I may go for another character or not, depending on if I decide to do a lot of bossing at the end game or not. But for now, this character is what I'm gonna focus on and try to get somewhat close to what I feel like would be the perfect character. Even my perfect, by the way, wouldn't be the perfect. There's probably gonna be somebody who can make it better by large margin, like 50% better, right? I'm just thinking within my own gameplay style and what I consider to be perfect, which is nothing that I'm gonna be doing is mirrored here. Like anything that I'm gonna have in each slot is gonna worth way less than 10 exalt. Like the total cost would be less than 1 mirror. That's my goal for a character, like a mirror worth of good stuff and the best combination. But there's going to be people who say, oh, a perfect characters, an immortal does 10 shaper per second, which some characters do. I'm not going to go over it because I feel like there are some unethical characters in the game, and don't even get me started on the standard, because I've seen a bunch of my friends have like characters that are just, I don't think that these things should exist. They're things, they're not exiles anymore, basically. But yeah, that was my rant about update and the game state and what I think about it and what are my plans for next week. Hope you guys are staying safe and hope you guys are enjoying it, especially if you're in quarantine. This is the perfect game to enjoy right now. So stay safe and see you next time, Exiles.